For those of you that are here live and who'll be joining us, and for those of you that will watch this recording later, thank you very much, and welcome to today's session on demystifying digital marketing. So today I'm going to be talking through the 4 facets of the digital ecosystem, and I'm going to be focusing on 4 things that your business can be doing right now, and 4 things that big business does that your small business can also do. So that will be what we're going to cover off today. If you've got any questions as we're going through, please ask, and I will see them in the chat, and we'll be able to come to those at the end of the session. So please just, if the question pops up, just type it into the chat and I will come to those questions when we are finished. There'll be plenty of time for questions at the end, and I want to make sure I answer all of yours. Okay, so let's just dive in. First of all, a little bit about me. So my name is Leanne O'Sullivan. I am what I like to call a digital Sherpa, but you may hear of other terms: digital marketer, digital strategist. Whatever it is, I've been around for a long time in the digital space. I'm the founder and the chief digital strategist at my agency, Adventure Digital, and I've been in this space for over 20 years. So I've seen significant changes in the way the web works, social works, search works, content works, you name it. I've seen a lot of change. So I know what actually does work, what's been tried before, what's tried and true, if you like, and I'm also across where we might be heading into the future. And I do a lot of that, sharing that information inside my training school, Summit School with Leanne O, where I am also the founder, but also a digital advocate. And that's where I like to say that I'm a digital Sherpa. My aim there is to impart some of my knowledge, a lot of my knowledge that I've learned over the years working in the digital marketing space, to help people just like you understand how it all comes together and what are some of the things that they can do to make their business better, and to leverage these tools so that all of us work towards having a more sustainable, profitable and enjoyable business. So what are we specifically going to cover over the next 45 minutes or so? Well, we're going to be looking at what I call the digital ecosystem. We'll be looking specifically at what are the elements within that, and you should have all received by now a handout that had the overview of the digital ecosystem. And my advice to you is to get a highlighter pen and go through and just highlight, maybe all the things that you do have, and potentially circle the things that you don't have as a result of this, that you might think, maybe we should be understanding more about that, creating that and using that to enhance our business. And this is going to help you, this webinar. We're going to be looking at 4 key essentials that you should be having. And as I mentioned earlier, some things that big business does that small businesses can also do. So I'm going to be looking at what I like to call ninja tips inside there. But let's just dive straight in now and have a look at what the overarching digital ecosystem is. So if you've got that document in front of you, you'll see that what I call the digital ecosystem is all the elements that come together that your business might use or creates, has or owns, that support how your business is marketing, working, driving engagement, finding customers, generating leads, and actually making sales. And these 4 areas are web, social, content, and search. And these items all come together to create a digital strategy. It's not just social media. And a lot of people make this mistake when they start thinking about digital marketing. In fact, many customers who come to us in the first instance, that's what they think it is. They just think it's social media. And if they could just do something with social media, then all of their marketing would fall into place. It doesn't quite work like that. And as we go through today, you'll start to understand why it's so much more than working inside Facebook or Instagram. Okay, So this is a document that you can see, and you can see on this is that digital strategy sits in the center, and we have those 4 elements spinning around, if you like, in the ecosystem there: the web, social, content, and search. And I've got some other items there in purple that are kind of the visual tools that are also part of that, visual branding elements, how your business presents itself online and in the real world, colors, fonts, your logo, imagery that you choose, those kinds of things. The personal brand essence. So, if your founder or your leaders in an organization, how are they presenting themselves online? Because that's a really important part of them being a business owner, or you being a business owner. People know you have a business. You really can't hide from it. You do need to be doing things online. And we'll also be looking at personal brand messaging and personal brand recognition. So they're also part of the overall mix. But today, what we're going to be looking at is just going through each element. And as you can see here, it can seem at first glance quite overwhelming. Like there's quite a few things in web, a whole bunch of different platforms and how you might use them in social, all this key important stuff over here in content, and a bunch of stuff sitting over in search, which you might understand as SEO, search engine optimization, or thinking about keywords. So there is a lot of stuff in here, more so than just thinking about 2 areas inside social, or even more than just having a website. It is a whole holistic approach to how you communicate, market, and reach your ideal clients. So let's just dive into some key things here, so you can sort of like weed through what's not necessarily as important for you and what's key for any business. Okay. So if you've got that sheet in front of you, the first thing that you might have seen or noticed that you potentially have a lot of gaps. And quite a few small businesses that I work with, when they come to us, do have some gaps in these foundational elements. And that's often the reason that's holding you back from online success or success elsewhere in your actual business. They may have some parts of the puzzle, but they don't have all parts of the puzzle. And they may not have key components that work well together. So they're not in balance. And that's not necessarily anybody's fault. It's often just because they don't have the knowledge yet of understanding what is it that I should be having, or what are the things that need to work together. I often say to people that it's a bit like, sitting on a chair that's meant to have 4 legs when you've only got 2 legs. And it's a bit hard to balance that or make a go of it when the chair keeps tipping over. So how do we fill in these gaps? Do we have to do everything that's on that sheet? Well, no, you don't have to do everything that's on that sheet. But there are key things that you should be doing that actually will make a difference to your bottom line in your business. So let's have a look at some of those key things for web. There's so much more to a website than just, or so much more to web rather than just having a website. Yet many businesses think that, they've had someone create something and their logo's there and they've got, 3 or 4 pages of blah, but somehow that's all they need. And maybe they start doing that with their business, or they put it up there and then they forget all about it and never update it. And that's something that's really important to realize, that it's a living thing, that once you create it, it's not like painting a wall where you paint it and you never come back to it until, the paint starts peeling off. Your website is something that you need to be updating. Think of it more like a garden, where you have to water it and weed it and do things to it so that it always looks its best. Okay, but you don't have to go crazy. I'm not making us all into horticulturalists here. You do need to do things. So what are some of those key things that you need to do? There's the overview of things, and I'm guaranteeing that you don't have all of these items. But there are some key things that I think every single business needs to have. On this page, I talk about 3 of them. We've got your site must focus on being mobile friendly. It's got to be mobile first, which means that people can use it well on their mobile phone. I call it the fat finger feature, because we all have fat fingers. If I can't drive a site with my fingers, fill in forms, drive the navigation, go where I need to go, if that's tricky for me, Google's going to think it's tricky too. So you need to make sure that it's easy for people to do things on a mobile phone. You also really should be capturing email addresses. It's so important these days with changes to how websites can track information, a whole lot of privacy concerns, that email is and remains and has been for years one of the key planks of any business's marketing tools. And therefore you really need to have a sign up on your website so that you're constantly capturing or having an opportunity to capture people's information so that you can communicate with them about what you do. And the other thing that's really important to have on your website is the ability to have a blog, like to create some blog content. And we'll come back to that later, but having a blog there is super important. Most website platforms these days will have that feature, but it just means that it allows you to talk about things that aren't necessarily your service page, but talk about the questions that people ask you and help you rank better for your business, the things that you provide to the public. Okay, it's where you can think about news stories, how-to guides, product demos, insider tips. If you aren't regularly sharing your expertise online, how do I know that you're actually an expert in whatever it is you sell? Okay, so this is a really key point here. I don't think enough small businesses in the service space, in the B2B space, are blogging enough. Everybody thinks we're all so busy until we don't have any clients, and then we're scratching around to do things. Creating a blog is making sure that you can be ranked for some of the searches that your clientele are looking for. It lets you share more of what you know. But you can share this around your team. If you're a one-man person or one-person show, then obviously you will be the person writing that, or you can outsource that and get someone to help you. But if you're a bigger organization, then get some of your team to help by creating something that they understand. They could write some content that talks about, if you think about frequently asked questions, you've potentially got some blog content there of the things that people ask you. How often should you be sharing a blog? Monthly is perfectly fine. If you could write, say, 12 blog posts over a year, that would be wonderful. People tend not to read things necessarily come into Christmas or over summer, but if you could get 10 different pieces of content out, that would be wonderful. If you can write more, even better, but they should be aligned with how people search. And if you're thinking about blog content on your website, you obviously want to make it be quality over quantity. So try and get to, if you can get to 1,000, that would be amazing. That would rank really well. But if you can get to, 700, 800 words, that's perfectly okay. Content that's too short, and this includes content on your pages, doesn't rank as well when it's compared to similar sites. So if you've only got about 200, 300 words on a page, it's probably not enough. It's not giving Google enough of an opportunity to rank your site for quality versus, say, a competitor. So that's something to really think about, that your content on your site probably needs to be a little bit more fulsome, a little bit longer. But this is the thing that I think especially if you're in the service space or the B2B space, that's really important, is to have what's known as a landing page. Okay, so a landing page, what are they? Is the page that you send people to as a result of a campaign. It could be TV, radio, email campaign, ad online somewhere, where you send people to a page, getting them to do something. Some of the simplest landing pages are quote pages, but it could be to buy a new product. It could be to sign up to trial something. It could just be to sign up to get on your newsletter. Most big businesses have landing pages that they drive traffic to as a result of campaigns, but your business can do this as well. And the reason that they work so well is when we send people to them, when they get there, that's the only thing that they can do. They just do that one thing that's so important. We don't want them to sort of like click away and read something else or get distracted. We send them to a landing page, and often they look different to how our normal pages will look, because we don't have a navigation to send them elsewhere. We don't have other things for them to read. We're in effect funneling them to a landing page so they get to do just that one thing. We want them to start a conversation around that one thing. And it's not going to be your homepage, and it's not going to be your contact us page. So I want you to have a think while I'm talking here about what could be a landing page on your site? What's the thing that you might get people to sign up for? It's obviously very easy for people to have quote pages. It could be to book an appointment page. That looks different to your contact us page. That is very much focused on getting them to take action. And these are the things that a good landing page has. It's going to be similar to your website, and you might need your web developer to help you with this, or you could be using some software that does this, but we don't want to have people competing for activities. So there's no main menu. There's not going to be links to other pages. We're going to send people there, as I've just mentioned, and they have this one clear purpose. So here's an example of Xero. I love to use the Xero example. This is an example of what their website looks like. Okay, so you can see here that it's a normal looking website. It's got a menu across the top. It's got other features, other options. Like if you were to go to the xero.com.au website right now, you would see something that would look very, very similar to this. It's got, you know, navigation and options to do things. And then if we could scroll down, it's got lots of other information. So it's an opportunity for people to dive in and explore around. However, if you were to search for accounting software, you land on their campaign page, which looks very different to their main homepage. And this is because this is a result of an ad. So they often will send people here through social media, through Google Ads in this instance. It might be an email campaign. It could be somewhere else on radio or television or anywhere where they might be sending people to this page. And you can see that it's different. It has no menu. It's got a simple call to action. What do I want you to do? I want you to try the software. That's what it's focused on. It's talking about the customer's pain point messages. So it's saying, getting people to empathize with them so it knows we understand what your problems are and this is going to fix them. It's focused on those outcomes because it wants people to try the software. That's what this particular landing page is like. And if you were to think about any other company that you might come across, if you go direct to that page, type it into Google and have a look at that page, and then maybe ask a question and see if there's an ad running to that page, you will see a good landing page will have a distinct difference from, say, a typical page of their website because it's helping guide people to do something. So I love using the Xero example because even though their campaign pages change, the overarching thinking is always the same. They want to get people to try the software and not get distracted by a menu or all the other options. So can you create one? Of course you can. This is a sample of a landing page that I created using Squarespace. Lots of websites right now, or better yet, email marketing tools, let you create landing pages using them. So if you've got MailChimp or MailerLite or any number of email marketing tools, it's likely they're going to have a landing page option in there for you, which is wonderful. If you've got automation tools with a bit more sophistication like Entreport or ActiveCampaign, you can also create landing pages inside there, or you can get your web developer to style something up for you that removes the navigation, or you can use something like Lead Pages, which is a dedicated tool to let you create landing pages. So it's simple, doesn't have the navigation, focuses on here's the problem, here's the form to get the thing, and then a bit more explanation, customer testimonials, things like that. So this is a really important little tool, and big business does this, but I don't think enough small businesses are taking advantage of. It's a really key thing to get you to create leads and to get people on your lists or to get people to do your thing. So let's have a look at social elements right now. This is often the area that people maybe think they have a good handle on, but this is what I'm going to get you to focus on inside here. Big business does not post ad hoc, spontaneous images. Everything is planned. When scandals occur inside social media, which they often do, it is often when people have not thought through what they are posting. So let's have a look to see and start to think about, how do you manage your social media? What are you doing in relation to social media right now for your business? So here we go. We have a look at potential platforms and thinking about where might you be. The most important thing, I think, in terms of social media, when you look at all the potential channels, and I know sometimes you hear all the time that, this is the latest place and this works best and you need to be here and blah, blah, blah. You need to be where your customers are right now and where you believe they're moving. Okay, so sometimes that might mean that we're a little bit slower to move in there, but we've got to be mindful of where are our people, not where you are more comfortable, but where are your people online? Because this is what you need to do. So that's where you need to focus your time and energy. Now, a lot of social media people say to everyone, get better at one platform and then expand. I think that you need to think more holistically around social media. I think you need to be in as many places as your customers are, because that's where they are. Unfortunately, the world of marketing now is a lot more fragmented. So you need to be mindful of all the channels that your people are, and you need to be mindful of how those channels are actually used. Okay, so it might be for you that, depending on your business, you're going to be in Facebook and LinkedIn. You might be in Facebook and Instagram. You might be only in LinkedIn. You might not need to start looking at TikTok, for example, if you were perhaps in the retail game or fitness game or anything like that. Because social channels change all the time, but it's really important that you just follow both where your people are and also understand what's changing about social media channels. And FYI, if you're not doing video, you need to start doing short form video. It's going to be everywhere, and it's really going to change how social media channels are used now and in the future. Okay, so if we're thinking about social and we're going to go to all this trouble of creating things, we need to be thinking about how do we get our customers engaged. We've always got to be thinking about what do they care about, because we want them to engage with our content. And that's not going to necessarily mean that they're going to like it or comment on it, but they're going to watch it. So that's what we have to focus on. What's the reach on things? Don't worry too much if you can't identify numbers of people who like things or numbers of people that comment on things. Look at how many people it got in front of. And if we think like this, I need to know when I'm the customer thinking about your business, the reason that you're sharing content with me is so that I can come to know you better. I need to know what you do. I need to like how you do it. Then I'm going to trust you. That's what you're trying to do with social. People are coming to know you via social media. So our social channels are going to be places where we can build community. People get awareness of who the hell we are and what it is we do. And if they like how we approach things, they get that rapport happening. Even if they never click that like button, you can't worry too much about those vanity metrics. Just think about reach. Okay. So it's not going to be something that's about the hard sell. It's going to be focusing on talking to people and being engaging. If you are the kind of business, particularly in the service space, one of the things to think about is, if you want to get a bit more, reach and engagement potentially, is don't be afraid to take a stand. Don't be afraid to share your opinions, okay? I know some people probably don't like the idea of this, but it's definitely something that you should be thinking about, because social algorithms are throttling reach if it's not a topic that they deem a worthwhile topic, or it's not in the style that they're going to favour. And that's why I talked about video. If you were doing a piece where you were talking about an issue or a concern in your particular realm of influence, talk about it to camera, record yourself talking about it. All the algorithms are favouring video right now. That's just a fact. And if you were working on Instagram and just working on a highly stylized grid without talking to people onto camera, you are going to be missing opportunities. It is moving to video. And that's why Reels right now on Instagram is where content is spread the furthest. TikTok, obviously, everyone's trying to, brace themselves for the TikTok. LinkedIn for a long time's got video, and they favour video in their feeds. Everywhere is favouring short form video. So you need to be thinking about doing it. That's just this overarching thinking. But in terms then of what does big business do? How can you, and I'm imagining some of you are rolling your eyes thinking about social content. What's most important is planning what you're going to talk about and then batching up what it is you're going to be sharing. Okay, so that's the tip here, is to batch up the material that you're using, whether it's selecting images, whether it's recording videos. And when I say recording videos, I mean, and I know I've got this on the screen, but you can probably see my head waving my phone, using your phone and just talking to camera and recording those videos, then you can use them to schedule out your content. And you'll find that when you batch up that content in a job lot, that you are going to get far more efficient. Your time, you'll get into flow, it'll happen faster rather than struggling to just post something ad hoc today, tomorrow, and then like realize it wasn't very effective, but you did it because you thought you should. It's a big no-no to do that. You miss out on the flow, and you miss out on having an appropriate message that gets sent to your customers. And you often just forget the things that you should have, been talking about on social media, like the day before you've got an event on, currently, talking about, oh, wow, I wish I'd been talking about that all week. One of the things that's so important is to think about in advance. Like, we prepare for our clients, like we batch all of our clients' work, and we will batch content a month in advance. So we know the overarching marketing plan. We've often worked on the overarching marketing plan. We know what the key things are that are coming up, and we will prepare it in advance, get it approved, and then schedule it. Because what's most important is if people start talking to you online, that's what's critical. You should be spending your time engaging with people, other businesses, people that you're talking to, like just having a normal conversation like you would in business. Your time is better spent engaging on social media than trying to post something every day that's ad hoc that actually ends up taking a lot more of your precious time. So this one is really key. Batch up what you're going to do. And from a, overarching perspective, you really always need to think, where are my clients online? Where are they? So once you've batched up all your information, there's a whole bunch of tools that you can use to schedule them out in advance. We use, as an agency, Metricool. It's a fantastic platform. If you aren't liking Facebook Creator Suite because you actually use LinkedIn, and you might want to post to Google My Business, and you might want to post to TikTok, then Metricool, you're going to love it. It comes as a free version. We have a limited number of posts every month, but it might suit many of you. You can obviously use Facebook Creator Suite. You've probably heard of Hootsuite, SmarterQueue, Repost. Later, if you're a big Instagram fan, Plan if you're a Instagram person. But there's plenty of tools out there to help you schedule your content and then allow you to see reporting in the one spot. That's what's super, super important about this. But it's so critical, and we find it so much better that when we batch content, we get that flow, we get that energy, we get that better quality of content. Then we schedule it all out, then we breathe easy because we know we've done our work and we know we're going to have good content that's out there for our clients. Because if we don't schedule our social media, this is what happens. You end up with the rundown service station with nobody coming to you because nobody knows you exist, because you've forgotten to post things that it's like, oh, do they even still do things? It's a thing that happens as part of all the work that you do now in your business. It's an important one. It's just how we get our information now. And it doesn't have to be a big eye roll exercise. It can just be something that you schedule to do, you get it all created, and then you schedule it out for the month, and then it's done, and you can breathe easy and pat yourself on the back. So we don't want rundown, empty service stations. Okay, so here we go. This is a really important one. Content marketing, in my opinion, is the fuel for your business lead generation engine. So if you are a service-based business, if you are wanting more people to ring you, to book in appointments, if you want your website traffic to increase, if you're wanting to get more sales, if you're wanting to boost your list so that you can get more sales, you need to be doing content marketing. And you need to be thinking about who you're trying to talk to, because otherwise you're just going to be like shouting on a street corner, hey, come here and buy my thing. And everyone's going to think you're the crazy person and ignore you. Okay. So before you add to the more online noise that we have, like there's a lot of content out in the world, we don't want more crappy content. We want good content. We want strategic content that answers customers' questions. And FYI, if you're answering a customer's question, you can't help but be ranked well for that question. So there's a bunch of things that I'm about to talk about inside here, but let's just look at our overarching content marketing overview. So here we go here. There's a whole bunch of things, and you'll see why I made mention at the start in web that we needed to have email marketing and we needed to have a blog tool, because we should be sending out email campaigns on a regular basis. If you've created a blog, you can send an email out to your list letting them know about the blog. You can also send them an email to let them know that maybe you've got appointment vacancies this month, or you've had a cancellation, or anything like that. You might be wanting to nurture people to do something. So again, if you're a service business, maybe the investment in whatever it is that you provide, people aren't going to necessarily spend $5,000, because they've gone to your website, they looked at 2 things and then they hand over their money. Maybe they might need to come to know you. You might need to send them a few emails, like warming them up. So that's what funnels are. You might have like a lead magnet on your website where they download a tool to give them some answers to questions, and then they're on their email marketing list. They could be like you are here. I'm running this webinar. This is part of my content marketing that helps me explain to people, how we approach working with our clients. What are the kinds of things that we do for them? And there'll be some stuff that I'll talk about at the end of this, which is leading into my training program that actually goes deep into all these areas and explains how they work. But ultimately, I run webinars on a regular basis so that people to come and understand me and understand this process. But we can have, if you're more technical information or deeper information, you might have white papers or a case study. You could do a lot of live streaming. You could have video, which is, again, why I'm talking about video. These are all the things that form part of content. And what we're trying to do here is, with all of our content, get people to come into our world, come into our lead generation funnel, if you like, up the top, where they become aware of either us or their problem. And then what they do is they move down the funnel and they're becoming, they're doing research, they're weighing up their options. Oh, will I go with these people or these people? So they're considering us. And then at the bottom of the funnel, they're going to make a decision, a call. Oh, yes, I'm going to ring up and book an appointment, or I'm going to buy that thing, or I'm going to choose you. So that's when they come down to the bottom. And now on this diagram, I haven't got what happens after that, which is also part of the content marketing piece, is, the retention part, where we get them to stay on and continue to be clients, or whether we get them to also, spread the word, the advocacy part of things. So that's what's going on in this funnel. We get from people to being cold, and then moving down and becoming a hot lead, so that they want to talk to us. So it's much more than just sales fluff. It's warming people up, nurturing them. And content needs to be created at every stage of that funnel. So how might we do some of this stuff? So what I want you to think about now is, if you've got email marketing at your website right now, I want you to think, what happens when people sign up for your newsletter? What's the very first thing that they get? Do they get a welcome? Do they get nothing? Do they maybe never hear from you ever again? Do you have something on your website that perhaps you could gate that they could sign up for to request? Are you missing out on an upsell? Can you automate some of the processes that might happen when people interact with you on your website? These are all the things that are really important to think about, and they come under the banner of marketing automation. Because what you want is, you want people to come into your world, and you want to give them information that's good information, but that you don't necessarily have to trigger at every single point. Okay, so that's what's really, really important. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment, because one of the other things that you want to do, and this is what big business does, is that in addition to creating good content, whether it's a blog that they might have sent to their list, they might recycle that content. So they're constantly going to bring it back. So you might have created something, last year, that you're going to recycle again this year by reviewing the content, and then you'll share it across all your social channels again, or you're going to send it out to your list again, because the people that are following you today on your list, on your social channels, might not necessarily be, you know, you're going to hopefully have more of them, new people who come in further down the track, and you want to communicate with them later. So if you're going to spend valuable time creating content now, or valuable money because you're going to get someone to help you with that, you want to make sure you're going to get bang for buck. You want to make sure that you're constantly sharing that with people all the time. Okay, so this is what's really, really important for you to do. We want as well to make sure that people see it more than once. So this is again where we're coming to our content scheduling. So we've touched on that a little bit when we talked about social media, having a content planner to share out our social media. This is why it's so important, because we can then share out, you know, our blog content. It can go out through social media as well using these same tools. Okay, so that's what we do all the time. But what we also will do is I make sure I leverage the power of a piece of content. If I've created a blog, I make sure that that becomes an email campaign, that then becomes a series of social media posts where I can pull little bits of content out of it and put it into a post. If I've done a video, what happens is that you can have the video that's recorded, you can transcribe that video. If you don't like writing, it can become a blog post. So you can upload your video to YouTube, you can have the content transcribed at a place like Rev, and that can then become a blog that sits on your website, or you can also, you know, so these are all, and then that becomes a newsletter, then that becomes all the social posts. So it really just expands the life of the content, which is really helpful when you think about how busy you might be, wanting to make sure that you're getting the most out of that one piece of content. It can become all these other little things. So that's really, really important. Okay, so we're coming into the final piece of content here, and then we've got time for some questions, is we're thinking about search. Okay, so I always think about search marketing as being a two-way street. It's as much about people finding us as well as us going out there and finding our people. So in the search element, there's a range of tools and tactics that are required so that both can happen. So let's just have a look at the overarching search engine overview. So here we are inside here, and you can see there's a bunch of things inside here. There's a bunch of, like, YouTube is a search engine. Okay, people go to YouTube to find out how to do things. So if you're the kind of business that can demonstrate how to do stuff or even explain things, then you should be uploading videos to YouTube. Then you've got YouTube ads, where your little snippets of an ad is going to be put in front of other people. Obviously, we have search engine optimization. So that's understanding both the technical things and the content things that need to exist on your website so that Google knows how to rank your pages for the right search criteria. And then we might have, you know, on-page SEO. We can look at backlink strategies. You can look at making sure that you're tracking the right things in Google itself, having access to Google Search Console. And then there's all the ad platforms, Google ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest ads, or using some of the forums like Reddit or Quora. You know, there's a whole range of things out there in relation to search. So rather than getting all overwhelmed, let's just bring it back to some key fundamentals. Think like your customers and answer their questions. Jargon is the enemy of effective search. So there's a couple of SEO basics that I've put on here that any small business owner, if you know this and you know how to do this, you're going to be streets ahead of your competition, and your website will be better month on month on month, because you're continually letting Google know what's most important about your content. So the SEO basics that you need to know, there's page titles that have to be unique for each page. Page names. So a page title is what Google sees up the top in the little tab up the top. And if I'm searching for drafting services, then I'm looking for all the pages that are likely to have a page title that says drafting services up the top. The page name should be reflective of the title. So we wouldn't have a page that says our services necessarily. We should really have a page that says drafting services. Then we might have other heading styles on that page, and we might bold text where we're referencing drafting services. So we might have a bit of an intro paragraph, and then we might have a subheading that says our drafting services range, that might talk about the different things that we how we specialize in things. And then we might have, you know, cost of drafting services. I mean, I'm simplifying this a lot, but I think you can understand what I'm getting at here, that you'd have subheadings that have the benefit of both when I'm landing on a page and reading it, your eye is drawn to that big heading, like, you know, when you use heading styles in a Word document. But as well, it is feeding Google information that lets them know this page has got really good stuff about drafting services and it should rank you well. We might highlight some of the keywords about our services, and we want to make sure that we're referencing and talking about the thing itself enough. There's no point having a page, and I often use this example, there's no point having a page that talks about chocolate cake, but the only time we mention the words chocolate cake is in the page title, and we never say chocolate cake anywhere else. Google will be thinking, because it's pretty literal, you've said this page is about chocolate cake, but I'm reading it and I'm not seeing very many reference to the word chocolate cake. So Google's AI is getting more and more sophisticated every single day, but we still need to help it along. We still need to make sure that we are talking about the relevant information in a good way. But search itself is not necessarily a magic formula. It's about giving your business the best possible foundation to be seen online. So it's quite an active part of your digital strategy, making sure that you're constantly looking, well, not constantly, it's not something you necessarily have to do daily, but it is going to be part of what you're going to do in your business. And if it's something where you're going to be spending marketing money in things, it's likely to be where your biggest spend will be if you're going to run online ads, okay? So what does big business do here that small business does often not do enough? Well, what happens is that big business is going to retarget customers. They are going to have tracking tools in place so that if they're going to be spending advertising money, they want to put ads in front of people that have already visited their site in the past, might have bought something, might have went to buy something and then disappeared. And so they're going to be putting ads in front of them to remind them to do this. So this is things that you can do. You can do it across Google ads. You can also do it inside Facebook and Instagram, where you might want to advertise to people that have visited your page or interacted with your social channels. These are really important things to do like that, to use your advertising money in that way. Because in spite of changes to how, say, Apple lets you track people, if you are still trying to get in front of the people that have engaged with you, whether inside a platform or using Google Ads, people that have visited your website, your ad spend per action is going to be less because your customers are more warmed up. And this is what big business does really, really well. They're going to be targeting the people that have interacted with them before, not necessarily only targeting cold leads all the time with ads. You still are likely to need to do that, but you're not going to necessarily only do that. You want to target the people that are warmer. So the ones that have interacted with you, or potentially even the ones that look like the people that have interacted with you. So even if you aren't ready to actually spend money on ads today, my suggestion is that you want to make sure that these things are set up. So you'd want to make sure that you've got, your Facebook ad pixel is on your site tracking traffic, that you've set up Google Ads account, that that you're starting to track those performances so that you can leverage those ads going forward. And this is likely to be something that you might need external help with, because it's often a bit tricky to get going. But essentially, as I've mentioned, it needs these tools, because what it's doing is it's tracking behavior on your website, what you've visited, or inside the platforms inside Facebook or Instagram. People need to agree to the permissions of this, but this kind of activity has been going on a long time, and lots of small businesses haven't been taking advantage of it, whereas big business has been taking advantage of it for a long time. It's why when you go somewhere, you'll often then find that you can see other ads following you around, and that's because of something you've done and their tracking pixel has picked it up. It's a really powerful little tool, and I don't think enough small business uses it. Because when we've got a limited budget and we want to get in front of the right people, it's better to advertise to your warmest leads than to constantly always been going out to people who've never heard from you in the past. So yes, you might want to initially get people to become aware of you, and you might do that via video, which is a very cheap form of advertising, especially inside Facebook, to do some video ads to create some brand awareness. You want to follow up those ads by targeting the people that have interacted with you or people that look like them. They're warmer. They like to be warmer because either they understand their problem and they're looking for a solution, or they've already come across you, they're a bit aware of you, and you're wanting them to commit to doing the next step. So that's why advertising to your warm leads using methods like this is super, super important, because we very rarely, if you think about that funnel, like how fat it is at the top and where it becomes narrow down the bottom, it's very rare that it's a sort of a skinny kind of pipe and that people move down there really quickly, especially in the service space. We may take a long time to come to a decision. We will be considering lots of things. We will be researching lots of things before we make a decision to buy with someone. And if we're not prompting them, if we're not helping our business stay top of mind with our customers by using methods like this, they're going to choose someone else who's already doing it. So this is why it's so important in the search area. Just as important as getting our search engine optimization right, so that when people search for things, we've got our website structured in a way that we're answering those questions, because that's what at the heart of good search engine optimization, SEO, that those keywords that we might bandy around actually are more about a key phrase, that, and thinking about it from the perspective of how do people ask questions? What kind of questions are my customers asking? And how do I provide that information online? Okay, so now we're coming to the bit where you can ask me any of your questions, but I'm just going to wrap up with some key points so that you know what the key takeaways are from today. So first up, I really think it's important for you to have a blog. And what I just said when we were talking about search, about answering people's questions, really highlights why that's so important, that you should have a blog on your site that gives you an opportunity to write pieces of content that are in fact answers to customers' search questions. So that's number one. Engagement. I want you to be reaching out and talking to people on various social media channels rather than worrying so much about, creating content in an ad hoc way, which means you have to batch your content and create it first. I'm also wanting you to automate more of your marketing. Think about what we have on our site that I can then have an email that's automatically sent to someone as soon as they do something, or a sequence that perhaps is created. What is my email marketing tool currently got that I can enable so that emails are automatically set out? And you can also think about, you might have booking systems like Calendly or Acuity or Eventbrite. What do I need to put in those systems so that people get the information they need before, so that I don't have to manually send out all these emails? So thinking about automations and SEO, think like a customer. Every single business can do this. You know your business better than anyone. You just need to make sure that if you're thinking about page content, what is the page title? Is it relevant to the actual search criteria? What are the questions people ask? And have I framed my pages properly? I shouldn't see anybody's website that says on a page, our services. Nobody searches for our services. They search for the thing that they're looking for. Your page should be called that, okay? That's what's really critical. So what are some of the ninja tips? First up, landing page. If you want people to take action on your website, make it obvious what it is you want them to do. Create a landing page that you send people to, so that if they land there, they've only got the one choice. They leave because they're not going to commit, or they do what you want. They book the appointment. They sign up for the download. They buy the product. Whatever it is, that's what you want. You don't want to distract them with too many things. You might have things on that landing page to help them make the decision. You could have a testimonial. You're going to restate their problem. You should be answering how you solved their problem. And here's somebody that loves our solution and would recommend you to the cows come home, and the thing. You want to have the one thing you want them to do. landing pages are really important. In the social space, sit down and plan out content for a month. And when I say plan out content for a month, I'm talking about 9 or 12 things. That's all you really need to do. You shouldn't be thinking you have to post every single day. You don't. Or if you did have lots of content that you could say, think about what's the easiest way I can get this out. And you might find recording a whole bunch of little videos is the perfect way, where you're literally just talking into your phone about your products and services. That would be wonderful. And if you did all of that in one sitting, if you think, oh, everyone's going to think I'm weird because I'm in the same clothes, I know lots of people, lots of individual businesses that do this. They might have a couple of different shirts and they are literally changed their shirt a few times so it looks like they've done all this when they've done it. But in actual fact, they've sat down and they've got a bit of flow, they've got better quality because they've sat down, they've done it together, and they've just changed their shirts so it looks like it's different. So you want to batch your content. Then you want to schedule and recycle your content. You want to make sure that you're using a scheduling tool so that you can make sure it's going out in a timely way, and you want to recycle and leverage every single piece of content. You know, a video can be turned into multiple pieces. A blog can be turned into multiple different pieces of content that you can email, that you can put on social media, that you can come back to and remind people about, because who sees it today are not going to be the people that see it you know, in a month's time. And even if your list hasn't changed, don't assume they've seen it the first time, because we're very busy. We don't see everything in our feeds. We don't necessarily read all of our emails. So make sure you're constantly recycling your good stuff, because it's worth being seen by everyone. And then finally, the final ninja tip in the search area is to think about retargeting to the people that visit you. We need to be prompted multiple times before we do things. So make sure people actually are being retargeted. You can have ads that display across Facebook and Instagram networks. You can have things that might show up on, you know, websites they browse on using the Google Display Network. These are things that are really, really important that I recommend that people think about doing or approaching a specialist to help them do. It's that important, and small businesses can do this all the time and do it really successfully. Okay, so what's next? Well, there was a lot of information that I just shared with you, and I'd like to open the floor now for any questions that you might have. But I'd also like to take the opportunity to let you know that if you wanted to take advantage of a free 20-minute session with me, we can have a look at your digital ecosystem. Together, we could identify some gaps, and I could help you determine what I would recommend that you might need to do next. So I invite you to reach out to me. I will be sending a recording of this webinar, as well as the slide notes to you all, so that you've got all this information together. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to join my the Digital Compass, my free Facebook group, because I share information every single week. I have a video in there every week focusing on different things, but following all around the digital ecosystem, talking about different tools across the digital ecosystem. So that's something that you can do inside my group. Or you might want to join the next round of the Digital Ascent, where I go into each of the areas for each you know, facet of the digital ecosystem in depth. And there's a lot of training that I undertake, and I let people know how they can do this themselves, looking at a variety of different platforms, looking at a variety of different social channels, lots of different businesses. But you get to, I share all my knowledge in that program, and I'm with you every step of the way through the course. So that would be something that I would recommend to you, that you have a look at. But if you have any questions for me right now, then please fire away. I've just got those links there to our website as well as to my Facebook group. Just going to stop the recording here so that you can ask any questions. I'll just stop the share and